Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Liz Jostes, founder of Eli Rose Social Media. Liz works with businesses to help them build strategic social media systems that don't just create content, but actually generate leads and clients. Her approach focuses on turning social media into a business tool, helping founders move from innocent posting to structured, result-driven marketing. Liz, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Liz, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Eli Rose Social Media, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
I've had the business for over 15 years now. I went to college for marketing. So I have a marketing degree and I worked in, I just say the offline marketing world before the online marketing world became a thing. When I first started the business, I actually had a business partner and we worked together for the first 6 years and life just happened with her. And so she decided to go back to a more predictable life with a 9 to 5 with her 3 kids and all of that. So when we first started it, we both had been getting seasoned in social media and websites and blogging and search engine optimization and those kinds of things. And I actually had a small business owner who I knew personally start asking me questions to help her with her small business. And in helping her all those years ago, she said to me, "You really could charge for this and help other small businesses." And that actually was what, like, the spark that started everything. So Kristen and we already knew each other well. We worked together amazingly as business partners. And so we didn't necessarily have, like, neither of us ever had the point when we were previous to those 15 plus years ago that we said we want to have our own business. It just naturally evolved. She also has a business degree and a business background. And like I said, at the time, it was really when I remember before like Instagram started. There's so many social media platforms now that didn't even exist. All those years ago when we were blogging and first using social media in these kinds of ways. So that's where it started. It grew from that point. And even now, I still exclusively work with small businesses or solopreneurs. Really, what drove us with that too is the fact that those are the people who need the most help because they're trying to run a business and ticking the boxes of all those different business tasks, but either by themselves or with a really small team. Medium and large businesses, they have either maybe a dedicated person to an entire department that can handle these different tasks. So that's like where our heart is and was always, with helping those small businesses.
Beautiful stuff. And as you say, starting in like the real world life of marketing back before like we could get there. So you've had all that experience coming into play. And then naturally, as you say, like things just change so quickly in the modern world, especially when it comes to digital marketing. There's always new platforms on the horizon. There's new algorithms, new tactics, new tools, whatever you want to be. And it can be very complicated and very like overwhelming for a lot of people, especially within that niche that you're looking at, the small businesses, the solopreneurs, even the entrepreneurs, I suppose, like starting out and finding their feet. It can be a big unknown for them and so overwhelming when you are diving into marketing and don't really have an idea of how to go about it or how to combat that. So it's really nice that you've stuck to your guns and you are bridging those gaps for those small businesses and taking it from there. Now, did you ever have an inkling of yourself to be an entrepreneur, or was that just something that naturally developed, obviously, as your journey did throughout life?
Yeah, naturally developed.
Cool.
I never would I have guessed that. The online world also, and this is not specifically just for social media or digital marketing folks, but and even before COVID, there was more and more opportunities to work from home or work from anywhere lifestyle started evolving, which obviously it's different today in 2026 than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. But that made it easier for it to work from anywhere, work from home. And then with it being an online type of environment, a career, industry, whatnot, it makes it a lot easier to work at any time of day too. So for myself, I had young kids at the time. So it was something that was a good lifestyle fit on top of wanting to help small businesses and utilize skills that I already had in the offline world, translating that to the online world. But there was that element too that to start a business like this, it worked with my lifestyle.
And that, yeah, and that is amazing. As you say, you do have that double-edged sword where you can build that business around your life, and if it suits you at the time, naturally dive into that. I feel like so many people realize that throughout COVID as well. Hence, the world is mostly remote, mostly online, because it is just, it's a nicer way to balance. Because people always talk about work-life balance, but in a sense, you have
Sure.
to make sure they merge together. You can't just
Yes.
ignore one and the other in your own time. So it's nice that you're always able to do that and take it from there. And being an
Yes.
entrepreneur isn't easy, as you know yourself. So it's nice that you can obviously work through that and help other people along the way, other small businesses, other solopreneurs. So, Liz, let's dive into the business a little bit more, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So, when it does come to Eli Rose social media, at this point in, who would you say is your ideal client? I know we was mentioning there's solopreneurs, small businesses, but who is it you really love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them and how would you support them?
Sure. So everything that we offer, I always say we can be as hands-on or hands-off as somebody wants or needs us to be. So that all fits into the services provided. With small businesses specifically, there's that balance between budget versus time. So being a small business owner, they might say, I just don't have the time, the brain space, the mental capacity to learn these different skills. So I want to pay somebody else to do them. There might be other
Nice.
people who say, I don't have the budget to outsource. Can you help me develop my content strategy or my meta ads strategy or whatnot, and then train me on how to manage it myself? So everything is like training on or strategy on or management of the social media and online marketing services that we offer. And so to pull that into the ideal client, I think because we have partners for things like web design or graphic design, for example, but there's a lot of these online marketing tasks that we offer in-house, so to speak. So the ideal client is someone who because also in this online world, so much is interconnected. I think it's really important for people who work in digital marketing to say, I do understand they don't have to be experts across the board, but they do need to understand how all of these things weave together. Because, for example, your marketing, regardless of if it's email, paid ads, organic, social, whatnot, should be driving traffic to your website. And you need to understand how all of these things work together. In the ideal client standpoint, even if someone starts with just say one online marketing task, it is to then support them in these myriad of ways across the board. So we can really be that marketing partner that isn't just social media or isn't just email marketing or isn't just SEO, but we can help them with a whole bunch of those.
Beautiful stuff. As you say, you can very much meet them where they're at. So it's more of, my mind went to like more of a done for you service or a done with you. So you are very much teaching a man how to fish
Right.
or setting that up so that you can very much be in the trenches with them as well. I take it and really much go from there. What is usually like your style or your approach when you are working with your clients? Like, what is it like to work with you?
So I feel like we just are pretty more laid back, or it's not going to be like a pushy or a sales driven thing. We're not going to try to upsell you on things. We even tell people when we're initially talking to them in the sales process of you can start with one thing and we can increase or decrease as needed. And what we found is a lot of people appreciate that flexibility. There's so many businesses who try to sell these really big packages and lock people into really long contract terms and all of that. And that's really overwhelming to a lot of small businesses. Having that flexibility and an a la carte, let's build exactly the kind of help you need instead of those preset packages is something that we hear a lot of feedback from clients that they really like that we're structured that way and that because too, for a lot of people, they don't really understand what all of this stuff is or means. So it can be also intimidating to say, yes, I want to sign up for X, Y, and Z services without really understanding how all of that stuff works. We also
Yeah.
hear people say, hey, I didn't grow up with this stuff. This is new to me, or I barely use social media myself or whatnot. And I tell them, I hear this all the time. It's okay. Even from people who are younger than me, they'll say
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, it's okay. I will help you along the way. So,
I love that. Yeah, and there are so many nuances, as you said before. If they have a little bit of an idea, but you can then help them like understand why they need to tie it all together. Like the Instagram isn't the same platform it was when they first started, and the nuances,
right.
the messaging, the language that they can use. I actually had a very similar conversation with my dad the other day in exactly
Okay.
the same way that you just put it. And he was like, "Well, Olivia, what is SEO? Like, slow down." I was like, because you're so much in the nuances every day. It is like it is very much teaching a duck how to swim. You are going through the motions. But it's nice you are providing with that clarity from the start because it is such an overwhelming world. And there are so many agencies, as you just said there, that they come in that they don't really care to know what they're doing half the time. They are just taking a budget, running with it, and it's a very cookie cutter approach to each person, which isn't necessarily the same thing. And then obviously with marketing as well, at the moment, you have the other side of it when AI is playing a big part and people
Hmm.
are just relying on AI for their marketing tools. But it's for me, you need a human aspect to that. You need more of an essence
Oh.
because you will just sound very generic and very much one-sided.
Yeah. And
So
so,
it,
like, the AI is a great example. Just over the years, even before AI was a thing, it's really easy to get caught up in the you have to sign up for the next latest thing. Like, here's the must-have platform. You need to be on here. You have to use this piece of software or whatever. And that creates a very frenzied and not organized marketing strategy overall. And a big part of all of it is you have to understand like what content and time is needed to actually be successful. Long gone are the days where you could just have a profile and post and run and not do anything. So there's these platforms have just developed in their depth and they all have their own set of rules, so to speak. So I just found that's one thing I've noticed over the years is people get too caught up in the hype about the next greatest thing and then they start going down that road and it's
yeah.
not necessarily doesn't pay off for them or they could even end up where they start and then abandon a platform. And that doesn't look good either, especially in the online world. You never know when someone or how someone will first come in contact with your brand. That's one thing that's very different from the offline world where you can control, hey, we have one front door and we can make sure the area is swept. There's not fingerprints all over the glass. We have light bulbs that are glowing in our sign, and you know how people enter your business. That's not the case in the online world. And it's just really easy for people who don't really understand it, and because it changes so quickly, to get caught up in the hype, and then they can really create messes for themselves
No,
with some
it's
of
so
these
true.
softwares and platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you say, it's so true. You can't, nothing is goes unnoticed online. You can't just abandon things and move on to the next project. People are still seeing that. It's still there for everybody's eyes whenever they search you. So it's so important to stay on top of that. And yeah, as you say, it's like shiny object syndrome was straight to my mind when once there's something new, it's like we're going to
Yes.
follow that path. That's the modern way. That's the way to go. And naturally, you just have to find what suits you and find that path that is right for yourself to build your authenticity with your marketing, not sounding like everyone else just because that's the way that things should be done. Now, Liz, one thing I'm very curious to find out is how you go about acquiring your own customers. Because naturally, with your background and your experience in marketing, like what are you finding most successful at the moment in just finding those right people to work with?
So interestingly, even though the business started as social media and grew from there, SEO is really, we have a lot of just incoming leads through SEO. Although I admit I haven't blogged now for years, but I probably blogged weekly for 10 years straight. That content has also brought people to the site. So it's a very like a passive approach to sales or and not proactive, but I also are like, hey, it works for us. Not everybody has to be knocking on doors and going to networking events. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I think too, after a while, just because once you're around for a while, 15 years is a long time for a small business to, to be around. A lot of them don't even last past 5 years, is that you eventually start getting referral business too, or because we offer so many kinds of services or the flexibility, we'll have clients who we worked with them on one thing for a while and then they went off for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they'll come back either because
Yeah,
they want a refresher or they're like, okay, now I'm ready to implement the next thing. So we have a lot of long-term clients too, or clients, like I said, that we'll get them going for a while, we won't hear from them, and then they'll come back later for more help.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, and as you say, being you're very much established within that industry now and within the space you are, so you are
Right.
building a nice referral system for yourself, which isn't easy to accomplish. It just shows kudos to the work that you are doing with your current clients and previous clients. And then naturally, yeah, finding your space in SEO. If it's working for you, why would you change it? As you say, like why would you waste your energy moving on to something else? Do you
Right.
utilize like social media in any aspect or like even with an organic approach just to make sure you are top of mind when people are
Yes.
going through the stuff? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And like I said, once you start an account, you really have to keep it going or you need to delete it completely. Yes.
Erase it
So
from the
yes,
world.
I'm still, yeah, there are definitely profiles out there for the business and active as myself, like on LinkedIn, for example. But yes, so
Beautiful.
current relevant stuff, but it's not the primary focus, basically.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. And as you say, it's just adding avenues on so they all drive back to that same place anyway. So it's nice that
Exactly.
okay. And I suppose with all that being said, like what are your visions or ambitions for the company moving forward? Maybe when you think of the next 6 to 12 months, like what are those targets or those milestones you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
Yeah, so I think over the years, I've had kind of two main thoughts of future growth. There's one challenge is that I have contractors who work for me, but it's always it would be a pretty big decision to say, okay, I want to officially bring like another co-owner on board, for example. So when it's you and contractors, there's always the balance of how many clients and what kind of clients, because different clients come in with different service needs. They're not all doing the same things. If I was to lose a contractor for whatever reason, how much work can I absorb? So there is that balance of you can only bring on, or as best as you can guess, right? You can't endlessly just say, I'm going to have a whole bunch of contractors and bring on a whole bunch of clients, because then if you lose a
Yeah.
contractor, somebody has to absorb their work. Also, just because for so many years I did content creation with blogging, I need to sort through ideas, but there's always the option of creating some kind of product or online product kind of sales tools where
Hmm.
people would have a little shop, so to speak, on the website where they could purchase some
Yeah.
different various training materials, whether they're PDF form, video form, that kind of a thing. That's something that's nice because once you create it, it's there and it's not an ongoing thing, with the obvious caveat that in the online world, things change quickly. So it's a little bit different than some other businesses that might truly have evergreen types of products or e-products that they could sell. That's the one trick as far as selling the products goes, is that you can't, it's not a one and done forever.
No, as you say, with the ever changing field of marketing, and you never know where it's going to change either. That's the worst thing about it. Sometimes it could be
Right.
like kind of plateauing for a couple of months, and then it's
Mhm.
no, we're changing to the left now, and you're like, okay,
Sure.
where
Yeah,
was that? Where
exactly.
was that growth side? So yeah, so developing more of a self-learning kind of program, but
Sure.
obviously managing that on your time and staying on top of it where you need to be. And naturally, yeah, that is when you are in a I suppose in a remote world, most of it is contractors nowadays. So you have to kind of balance that
Sure.
scale. You say focusing on bringing in enough clients, but not relying on your contractors to deliver that work because if they move, you're in that catch 22 position.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Right.
taking time from there. And Liz, I do have one final question for you. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
I think that regardless of the field that you are in, if you are a business owner, a founder, an entrepreneur, my biggest piece of advice is finding your, some people might call it like a brain trust or a mastermind, finding some other folks who also are founders or business owners who you can get together with on a monthly basis or some kind of basis, even if it's over Zoom. It doesn't have to be in person, just to talk business stuff with, because nobody else understands exactly what it's like to be a solopreneur or a small business owner than other solopreneurs or small business owners. So I think finding your people, and if you can do that earlier on, I think that helps, because as you do grow or face different challenges, you have a core group of people who can really give you some very sound advice. It can also be empathetic, can give you a different view on things to help you through, because it's not a straight line when you own your own business. So finding other people who can help you navigate while you help them navigate too.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest keys to success, and just keeping your mental health in check. To
Yeah,
have some
no,
other people you can talk with.
I love that. And it is so true because it can be a very lonely world being a founder. So having just people that you can call your colleagues, as you say, use as a sounding board,
Yes,
get ideas from, bounce off. And when you are in those ruts where you feel like the wave's never going to stop, at least you have people to bring you out of it as well and just carry on
exactly.
with the journey. But Liz, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible
Absolutely.
journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Sure. You can visit my website at elirose.com, ELIROSE.com. That would probably be the best single place to get started.
Love it. Beautiful stuff. And thank you again, Liz. I really appreciate your time with me today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please be sure to go and check out Liz. As she said, check out the website, Eli Rose, was it .com?
Yes.
EliRoseContent.com. Drop her a message. I'm sure she'd love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.